Hello and welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Angelo Santabarbara, representative for the 111th Assembly District, which includes Schenectady, Montgomery, and Albany County. Today with us we have Anthony Fasano, professional engineer and executive director of the New York State Society of Professional Engineers. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Angelo.
Maybe we could start off if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be the executive director of the New York State Society of Professional Engineers.
Sure. When I was in high school, I was very interested in the math and the sciences, and my parents kind of pushed me into engineering to take a look at it, and I loved it and went to school for engineering. You know, and one thing I'd like to say real quickly on that topic, for those people watching, whether it's students interested in engineering or parents who have students interested in engineering, the math and science is always something that people say, you know, you have to be good at math and science to be an engineer, and I want everyone to know that that's not necessarily the case. I have some friends, very good friends that are engineers that overcame that and became extraordinary engineers. I have a friend in the military, he manages 500 engineers, and he was a music major who switched in to engineering. So I think that's an important point to mention as I give you my history.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I went to college, I became a licensed engineer, and as soon as I graduated, I started working in industry. And my boss at the time, Joseph Caruso, who was involved in the society, kind of pushed me into the NYSSP and said, get involved in the society. So I did. I became a board member down in Rockland County, was president down there. And then a year ago, last year, when the executive director resigned, quite a few people kind of recommended me for the position, and here I am as the executive director. I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to growing the organization.
Yep, that's really. I'm excited that you have this position. I'm a member of the society. I'm an engineer myself, so I can appreciate what you're saying.
Right.
And it's great to have you in this position. I think you're going to do great. And
Thank you.
I do track the newsletters and everything that's coming out, and you're doing a great job. Thanks for being here today, and thanks for telling us about yourself. Maybe we could talk about the organization a little more.
Sure.
Just people might not be familiar with it. What does the New York State Society of Professional Engineers stand for? What do they do?
Sure. So the New York State Society of Professional Engineers, our main priority is to defend against unlawful and unethical practice of engineering. Right? Having been able to do engineering work in the state of New York, sign and seal plans, you have to be a licensed engineer, and that's very important for the safety and health of the citizens. Right? We as engineers have a responsibility. If we design a bridge, people use that every day, and there's people's lives that are at risk. So we make sure that there are laws in place to, one, make sure that engineers are able to work in a good environment, and also to make sure that proper quality is in place so that the health of our citizens is not a risk. And that's the main priority of the thing that we do. However, in addition to that, other things we do is we also get involved with the youth, whether it's through math counts and future city competitions, where we try to let young kids understand what engineering is, how many opportunities there are out there for them as engineers. So that's something we do. And then we move up the line. We go to colleges, we speak to colleges about the importance of the engineering license and what that means and why they should get a license, and we try to guide them towards that. Right? Then once engineers have their license, we provide training for them. You know, as an engineer, you have to keep your training up to keep your license up in the state of New York. So we try to get really good topics, really affordable classes for our members so that they can maintain that license, which is very important. And then, of course, lastly, we lobby for the license. We make sure that there are laws that are in place to protect the license and make sure that we protect the safety of the citizens.
Now, you mentioned math and science, and a lot of people think, all right, I can never be an engineer, just math and science. What are some of the other things that are involved with? Because I know reaching out to the youth is important. Some of the other things besides math and science, maybe somebody's really creative and can get involved, and it doesn't take just math and science. What are some of the other things people should be looking for?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with creativity, being innovative. I mean, with the problems that the world faces, like water, like climate control, all those things, there's not just going to be about solving a math problem, right? You need to think about solutions, creative solutions. So, if you're into art, if you're into other things, you can also go into engineering. There's all kinds of different engineers. Sometimes people think bridges and buildings, but there's acoustical engineers, there's biomedical engineers, there's all kinds of engineering opportunities out there. So really, you don't just have to get an A in your math course. If you're innovative, if you're creative, if you like to solve problems, look at problems and solve them, that means that you could definitely be a great engineer.
And having said that, and I've been involved with programs like Future City and Math Counts, how important is it to reach out to the youth?
Oh, it's critical, because that's the future. I mean, that's the future of engineering. I mean, engineering is a critical component of the nation's future. I mean, with infrastructure and everything that's going on. So, and a lot of other countries, you know, their top major degree is engineering, and we're kind of behind the curve on that. So we really need to get out there and make engineering more known, and kind of, you know, overcome this misnomer of, you know, you have to be a mathematical genius to be an engineer, or it's a boring profession, because it's not. I mean, there's so many things you can do, from being out there in the field and seeing projects being built. I mean, it's a fascinating profession, and unfortunately, you know, our youth in the U.S., in New York, they're just not aware of it.
Right, and I think that's the key, the awareness, reaching out to middle school students. And one of the things I've seen that kids don't realize is that engineering is all around us. Everything you look at, roads, vehicles, it makes up an enormous part of our lives, and it makes our lives easier. I guess let's go back to the society. Let's talk about the local chapters. Now you have sort of a parent organization. How about the local chapters? What do they consist of?
We have local chapters all throughout the state, from Buffalo down to Long Island, 5 boroughs. I mean, throughout the state you can find the chapter. And basically they have their own board, they have their own set of volunteers, and most of them put on monthly events, whether it's a training course like we spoke about to give the continuing education, or they do a program like Engineering Expo, which we're going to be having down in White Plains, which we sponsor, that will be promoting engineering to the youth. You know, so there's different kind of events we do, the training, the promotion of engineering to youth, and really, you know, we want to cover the state, because we want to be able to say anyone in New York State that's licensed, we can help you. We can help you get your training, we can give you volunteer opportunities. So that's what we do as far as trying to keep all of our chapters strong. And one of the things that we've done as of recently, and Wednesday night we had a meeting down in West Nyack and Rockland County on gas fracking. We had an expert come, which is a big topic right now. An expert from Cornell University came, Dr. Ingrafia, and what we did was we had not only 50 people in the room, but we broadcasted through a webinar, so other members throughout the state could get that topic. So we're really trying to make sure that we can reach all engineers in the state of New York, regardless of where they are, even if they're a far drive from a chapter.
One of the things, and I was on the website just perusing through it again last night, one of the things that's nice is you offer some of this training, continuing education, right online.
Yes.
And that's something that's very convenient for people if they're too busy or they can't make these meetings, can't make the conference. They could get a certain amount of credits right on your website, so that's very convenient. So if I'm an engineer, I'm working in the community, how do I get involved in my local chapter?
Basically, you can come to nysspe.org, which is our website, and we're actually launching our new website today. It's going to be a lot easier to navigate, so it's exciting. It worked out great that I'm here today. But we have the chapters listed on there and a link to their site, so you can actually reach out to the chapter, or you could reach out to us right at the NYSSPE office. Our contact information is out there. My address is executive-director@nysspe.org, and you can contact us, and we'll either hook you up with the right chapter, or you can now join through our new website. So it's easy to get in touch with us and find us, and we can certainly guide you in the process.
And the chapters are local. People are not going to have to travel across the state to be a part of this group. They have chapters in their area, and it's close to the region where they live.
Yes, we have chapters all throughout the state. And like I said, even if they have somewhat of a drive, we can make training to them available online and other opportunities. But for the most part, we're throughout the state with our chapters. That's
great. And the website is very comprehensive, a lot of information. If you have not visited, I encourage people to do so. Let's just shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the latest news. Let's talk about some of the disasters that struck the state.
Hurricane Sandy was a big one for our members, especially downstate, and even our upstate members have been affected over the past few years with different hurricanes and the different events that we're having now, which is very important. So, for example, with Hurricane Sandy, one of the things that has come about a lot is the Volunteer Protection Act. We get a lot of calls from our members who, unfortunately, there's been some experiences in the past with these disasters where engineers, they want to volunteer, our members want to volunteer, but you have to remember that we have, that liability aspect with doing something. So if you go to volunteer and you're doing something, then all of a sudden you see something else and you try to, help out with that, as unfortunate as it is, you could be potentially held liable for that. There is some coverage through legislation for that, but our members just need to be clear about it. So one of the things we'll do is inform them about that. And on our new website, we have a blog with current events, current things going on, and one of the things we did was we wrote a little article about the Volunteer Protection Act to outline how our engineers, our members, and licensed engineers in New York can protect themselves so that they can still volunteer and feel comfortable about it. You know, that's something important. We don't want engineers that are ready to volunteer to not volunteer because of a liability. So these are the types of things that we try to make our members aware of, because they can't keep track of all this stuff. That's kind of our job.
Right. And along those lines, when people volunteer, what are some of the things they can provide? How does engineering fit into a natural disaster? What can we do to help?
Well, I think one of the things that's important is, I mean, a lot of it's like looking at buildings, structural inspections and stuff like that. But what we tell our members, and again, this is on our website, what's important is if you're going to volunteer for something, volunteer for that and be clear about the scope of what you're volunteering for. Because, you know, if you're volunteering for the structural assessment of a building and you start doing electrical, if you look at the electrical and say you should upgrade your electric or something, that's where there might be a liability issue. Yeah. So, you know, it's really, if you follow the idea of getting a clear scope and executing that, you can volunteer and you'll be covered. Right? So that's kind of the things that's important if you're going to volunteer as a licensed professional engineer. Just be clear about it. And you know, we know people want to help and they want to get out there right away and help, but you know, you just kind of got to be smart about it, basically, because that engineering license, it holds such a lot of responsibility. I mean, that's why we exist, our association, to protect that, and we want to make our members aware of that.
And it's nice to see that the profession is involved with when disasters strike and volunteering their services. And I know your members were out there; they were volunteering, and that's really nice to hear. And that's part of the reason that you have the membership and people that actually care about the community and want to contribute when people are in tough times. So we talked about the website. We talked about the society. So if I want to become a member. I noticed that you had an application right online.
Right online, nysspe.org. There's a Join Renew section on our new website where you can join. And we even have an option, if you're not comfortable, you can just call us. We can walk you through it either way. But it's pretty easy to join now with our new website. We try to make it easy.
And the requirements for becoming a member?
The requirements for becoming a member, really any engineer, even to students, will be a member. And actually, let me walk through that a little bit now, the different levels of membership. Basically, engineering students can become members and they pay no dues. All right, so we like to get out there to schools to speak to them, make them aware of the license, have them join on to the society, and then through that they can get in touch with other engineers out there, get mentoring, potentially internships. So that's a real benefit to students. And then once you graduate, there's kind of a graduated dues scale. It goes from about 20 to 80% in the first 5 years as an engineer out there in the workforce. And one of the things that we're doing right now is we're developing an early career development program. So if you join as a student, you'll get to know our members, and then when you graduate, we're going to give you a program that we're going to develop for you over the first few years. Training. Not necessarily continuing education, because you don't need it yet until you're licensed, but just how to develop as an engineer. And we'll have interviews with other engineers. And then as a licensed engineer, then, you know, of course you can join as a licensed engineer, and then that's when the training comes into play. Yeah, that's where you join and you say, you know, you pay your annual fee, and then you'll get some free training, as you mentioned on our website, but then there's other, you know, you'll get to go to the events that we have all the time. So really any engineer in the state of New York can join, a license in the state of New York can join throughout the levels, and really we're really encouraging younger people to join. They're our future, they're the leadership of our future. So
yeah, I agree with that. And it certainly makes sense for students to at least give it a trial run and see what the membership is about and get involved. And I think it also helps them develop their engineering career from an early start, right from being a student on. It exposes them to a lot being a member. So I would encourage students to visit the website and certainly consider membership. We are going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about the New York State Society of Professional Engineers.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red state. Blue state. Vegan.
Carnivore. We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Night owl.
Early bird.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live.
our families,
United.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Assembly Update. I'm Angelo Santabarbara, Assembly Member for the 111th Assembly District. 1170 Riverfront Center is my district office in Amsterdam, New York, 12010, and you can reach me at 518-843-0227. Also, you can email me at santabarbara@assembly.state.ny.us. Welcome back to Assembly Update. Anthony, thanks for being here. We've talked quite a bit about the New York State Society of Professional Engineers and your path and how you became the executive director and how you have been involved with the group so far. We talked about the history and some of the benefits of membership. And that website again?
nysspe.org.
nysspe.org. If you have not visited the website, I encourage you to do so. There's lots of information on there, all about engineering. So now let's talk about something called E-Week.
Sure.
And this happens once a year?
Yes, National Engineers Week was started back in 1951 by the National Society of Professional Engineers, which is our mother organization. And originally it was started to try to promote the profession and give it some of the light that is due because of what engineers do. However, as of recently, I think it shifted a little bit to more making youth aware of engineering, like we talked about earlier on. Right. And there's events along those lines, and we get involved in some of that. But for our Engineers Week over the next week, we have just a ton of events throughout the state. Most of them are geared towards continuing education. Yesterday and today we have our Capital Region E-Week event, which I know you were at yesterday, and we have almost 800 engineers that'll come to that event from all over the state to get training and to see vendors and gather industry information. So that's just a dynamite event. It's not just our event. We share it with other societies in the region, which is great teamwork. And then next week, we'll have events for Engineers Week throughout the state. We're going to have an event Wednesday with our Rockland and Westchester chapters on the Tappan Zee Bridge, which is another big topic.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
That has been talked about.
Yeah, so that's going to be a great event, which I'm looking forward to attending. We have events up in Erie, Niagara area next week for Engineers Week. Westchester Friday night, they have an Engineers Week event. So it's a great time to celebrate the profession and then try to, again, teach the youth about the profession. And really, it's just an enjoyable time for us and for, to try to, pass it along to the youth. Because, as an engineer, I mean, there's so many things you could see on a daily basis. Yes. It's so exciting. So to try to get that word out to the younger to understand what that really means is great. And Engineers Week really gives us a time that we can do that. So it's a lot of fun. And
what you talked about earlier was that, engineering is not any one specific thing. The Tappan Zee Bridge. A lot of engineering there.
Yes.
Roads, bridges, buildings, all involve engineering. So pretty much everything, almost everything you see in our daily lives,
everything
at some point had an engineer involved.
Exactly.
You mentioned the youth at E-Week. I know on the schedule, and I see this every year, the bridge competition.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe worthy of talking about because it's very interesting to me, but maybe you could just run us through what happens.
I mean, we try to have many different kinds of competitions. So we have the bridge competition where students get involved. They try to build a bridge. We're trying to make engineering fun for them and make them understand what it is beyond math and science, but seeing what's built, and even the engineering expo that we sponsor that's going to be in White Plains in April. Again, they have a huge, I think with West Point, they come in and do a bridge competition too, where the kids get there, they've got computers set up and they understand what analyzing it is all about. If you want kids to learn about engineering, you got to really show them what it is.
Right.
Beyond just saying like, you're going to build stuff or see stuff, let them see it, let them feel it, let them do it. Kids, they love building Legos, they love doing stuff. I mean,
sure do.
That's kind of engineering.
Yeah.
So we need to make that clear to them, and we try to do things like that. And even events like the math counts that we're going to be, the state math counts coming up here, I think is March 16th or March 17th. So we'll be there for that. We do that every year. So these are things that, we have to continue to do, Angelo, so we let, kids understand that there's so many opportunities out there for them as engineers that, unfortunately, they're just not aware of it.
And students also, it's important, like we said earlier, it's important to reach out to them early. And maybe engineering is not as well advertised as some of the other professions, but certainly it has a lot more to it than what people know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one other thing I'll mention too, because we're talking about events, is our annual conference, which is coming up in June. We actually do 2 conferences a year. This year our annual conference is going to be up in Lake Placid. And basically, we put together a couple days of training. It'll be June 6th and 7th. We have those PDHs, the continuing education credits that we spoke about, and we're looking to get some real dynamic speakers up there this year. We're trying to have, again, have a gentleman come and talk about gas fracking because it's so important across the state. Everyone wants to know more information about it. We're going to try to get some legislative updates. We're going to try to maybe take a tour of some of the Olympic facilities up there. So we're trying to put together a really good conference for engineers that can come from all over the state, get the training, see something different, learn more about what's going on with legislation with respect to licensed engineers. And I think that that's going to be a great event. And again, all that information will be on our website too at nysspe.org.
And one of the things I get out of eWeek is that it's an excellent chance to network professionally.
Oh, absolutely.
I saw some students there, and they get a chance to be exposed to their profession as well. So there's plenty of other benefits. And eWeek information is also on your website.
It's on our website.
Okay.
And to add to what you're saying too, if you're a parent out there who has a child that might be interested in engineering, or you think this might be a field that they want to get into, take them to these events. I mean, it's not maybe, even if it's heavy with engineers that are going for training, I mean, I think getting out there and letting them see the engineers and talk to them and visit some of the booths and stuff is just something that could really impact them for the rest of their lives and their careers. The Engineering Expo is a perfect one. I mean, I think they have 1,000 kids that came last year from all over downstate. Get out there with your kids, let them see it, let them experience it, and let them make the decision on their own, but at least give them the information.
And the programs, also the programs that you're involved with, like Future City and Math Counts, maybe they have a chance to get involved with that. They should ask the questions, get online, and take a look at this information. I think if at least it will expose them to what engineering is and what the profession means.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the other things I'll mention too is we do a lot of stuff from the legislative side, protecting defending against the unlawful and unethical practice of engineering. And one of the big topics right now is design build, which is design build is a kind of project delivery system where you have the designer kind of in the person doing the construction, the entity doing the construction is almost one and the same. And there's a lot of things that can happen there from a legal and ethical standpoint. So one of the things we're doing is we're just working hard to make sure that the legislation that's written, that's passed, has safeguards in there to protect the license, to protect the owner, to protect the public. That's really what is important. And I think that's important for people to understand that we look for the health and safety of the public. We have to hold that in the highest regard. I mean, as engineers, it's not like any profession. I mean, when you design something as an engineer, whether it's a dam, there's people downstream of that dam that can get impacted. Like I said before, if it's a bridge, there's thousands of people that cross it every day.
Yeah.
So when we look at things like this, like design build and like other legislation that's out there, we need to make sure that they're protected. And I'll give you another example because sometimes people don't understand what I mean by the legislation, but there's legislation out there that basically says that if you have a project that you work on, let's say a home renovation or commercial renovation, that is less than $5,000 in value, you don't need a licensed professional engineer to be involved with the project. There's legislation out there now trying to increase that number from $5,000 to $50,000 to say that if you have a project up to $50,000, you don't need a professional engineer involved. And we're vehemently against that because we say, listen, $50,000 project is a good sized project, and we don't want to put someone at risk. If you do that without having a professional engineer involved, it could be a problem. So just to give the audience an example, those are the type of things that we look for out there to try to, protect the public and kind of protect this license and make sure that, we really hold that in high regard.
And like you're saying, when you, as an engineer, when you put your seal on there, that means a lot.
It means a lot.
It's something that's stays with you, and it's something that once you know that an engineer has looked at it, you feel safe that it's
Right.
going to be built correctly.
Exactly.
And along those lines, I guess students that are thinking about becoming an engineer, let's just quickly go through the process. Okay, I get out of school, I've graduated, now what happens?
So basically what happens is when you graduate or in your senior year of school, you can take something called the Fundamentals of Engineering exam, which you absolutely should take in school. A lot of schools today are kind of really strongly recommending it. They give review courses, and that's an 8-hour exam. It's fairly intensive, and it covers a wide breadth of topics. It could be, from everything, chemistry to electrical and so on. So you take that, and then, hopefully you would pass that. Then you go out into industry and you work, right, for 4 years. You get design experience, and then you can take the second part of the exam, which is the Principles and Practices of Engineering. And if you pass that second 8-hour exam, which is going to be more focused on your discipline, then you receive your license, your professional engineer's license. And something that's important about the license that people don't understand, and I get this question a lot, is it's a professional engineer's license. It's not a civil engineering license or a structural engineering license or a mechanical engineering license. So what that means is, as a professional engineering license, legally, you have the ability to do different types of engineering, but ethically, our ethical code says that you have to practice what you're knowledgeable in. And I think that that's important to understand, that there's one engineering license, not multiple.
And once you pick your discipline, those 4 years are when you're actually going to focus on what, and I'm a civil engineer, and I focused on civil, and that's what I focused my second part of my exam on. So they'll get that 4 years is a long time, and they'll get a chance to figure out what they want to do.
Yes.
And where they want to focus their area of expertise. But there's nothing to say that you can't change at some point as long as you practice in that field.
Exactly. As long as you change and then learn the field and
Right.
have expertise in it, then you could practice with your same license with that. The one thing too that's important, what you said, the first few years, I think it's, as younger engineers, it's important to do different things. Because sometimes what happens is you get out of school and you kind of get dead set on one field of engineering just because you took a course that you liked.
Right.
And then what you do is you get out there and say, geez, this is a little bit boring for me, I don't really like it that much. But in the first few years, you should really try to do a lot of different things because you have that flexibility.
Yeah.
And then you can settle on something a little bit further down the road.
Right, and it's sort of an apprenticeship. I guess you get a chance. I remember doing it. I get a chance to work with senior engineers and kind of learn from their experience before I actually get my license, and I'm kind of being the lead designer and the lead person stamping the plans.
Exactly, because one of the requirements actually of getting the license is you have to work under the supervision of a licensed professional engineer. So you're right, that's that apprenticeship type role.
Well, we're just about out of time here. I just wanted to mention there are several awards that you give out every year, and those are on the website.
Yes.
If people want to nominate, how do they do that?
They can go to the website. They can go underneath the About NYSSP at nyssp.org, and we have the award nomination forms there, and we give out the awards at our June conference in Lake Placid. So please go and look at that. There's different awards from Young Engineer of the Year, Engineer of the Year, Government Engineer of the Year, and more. And you can go there and take a look and please fill out and nominate someone. We'd love that.
Great. Well, Anthony, I want to thank you for being here today. You've certainly given us a lot of information, and we hope to see you at eWeek and some of these other events throughout the year. I appreciate you sharing your time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us here on Assembly Update, and please tune in next time when we'll talk about another area of the community. Thank you.